With your sameness and fairness thing, to be honest with you, it kind of sounds to me like you want equality as long as it's benefiting women, but when it's not benefiting women and men can take the brunt of it, you're like, that's cool. Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. How do you see that? How do
Well,
you
I
see
mean,
me
if,
saying
you know,
that?
if we lived in like a properly feminist world, there wouldn't be affirmative action initiatives to put more women in positions of like workplace positions and in academic positions. If we had a truly equal world, women, like I said, would get drafted into the military. Like, I think if feminists want to truly fight for equality, it's like, put your money where your mouth is. But if you only want equality when it's benefiting you, then it's not, you don't actually want equality, you just want a world that benefits women more often.
Um,
I'd be like, no, it didn't work. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do, you guys? Like, oh my god, like, fuck, I need to go to church. I don't know, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm so tired of this. Like, that's what I would be doing. Like, can we stop being fake in this fucking world before I have a conniption fit? Do you know what I fucking mean? So it's kind of like, actually, I feel bad for her, but it's hard to feel bad for the fake positivity movement. Like, literally, the fake positivity ass movement. Like, let's just be more real. Like, there's no way you're happy. Just show something, show some realness. You cannot, you know what I mean?
A study last year, which came out in the news just a couple weeks ago, showing that the percentage of young men ages 18 to 29, 63% of them are not in a relationship. That is, they're not married, they're not in a steady relationship, they're not dating, they're single. 63%, nearly 2 out of 3. These trends towards singleness, not being in relationships, not being married, is bad for our society, it's bad for the individuals. And this should alarm people that as we continue down this road, these figures only appear as though they're likely going to be getting worse. As more and more men are checking out of dating, losing interest in marriage, data also shows that they are less likely to pursue it at all. And this bodes very poorly for our society. I think we have to acknowledge that our principles in place for dating, for relationships, for sex, for intimacy, these changes that we've instituted in our society are not working well. And our only way is to undo many of the things that we have done and get back on a course that does work to support marriages, relationships, and family life.
Have guys lost interest in women? When you consider the condition, or rather absence thereof, of modern femininity, it is honestly difficult to disagree. These days, it seems that women are more interested in gaining a lot of body mass, accessorizing their bodies with dubious tattoos and piercings, and adopting attitudes that are both unflattering and offensive. If you spend 5 minutes with the typical modern woman, you will probably run with someone who is snarky, loud, cruel, and, to be honest, boring. It seems like their whole life is focused on showing off their possessions on TikTok and begging for likes and comments to validate their existence. And for what purpose? To support an ego as fragile as it is inflated. And then there is the judicial system, which is a rigged competition in which women consistently win, regardless of how poorly they behave. Not only is this unjust, but it openly encourages inappropriate behavior. With a lady like this, who is willing to empty his bank account and ruin his life at the touch of a button, why would any man even consider dating? However, it does not end there. Through the back door of de facto relationships, the state has discovered yet another avenue to shift resources from men to women. After you live with a woman for a while, she suddenly has the right to inherit a portion of your possessions, just like in a marriage. Matrimony is not a partnership, rather it is a financial maze in which a single mistake can have catastrophic consequences. Let us get serious. Contemporary women are frequently more poisonous than a snake pit. In addition to being deficient in character, it makes sense that men see the dating scene to be more akin to a poisonous swamp where all attraction and fun have long since vanished. It should come as no surprise that a large number of guys are saying thanks but no thanks and ending relationships entirely, since the risk is simply no longer worth the return. It appears that even conventional psychology has realized this, encouraging men to let rid of things that are not beneficial to them such as marriage's trap. Given the current legal system's glaringly high divorce rates and its essentially female-only, get-rich-quick structure, what rational man would risk losing half of his hard-earned assets? Only a fool would overlook this surefire prescription for disaster, which is why men are starting to approach relationships with a healthy dose of cynicism and a growing feeling of no, thank you.
A study last year, which came out in the news just a couple weeks ago, showing that the percentage of young men ages 18 to 29, 63% of them are not in a relationship. That is, they're not married, they're not in a steady relationship, they're not dating, they're single. 63%, nearly 2 out of 3. These trends towards singleness, not being in relationships, not being married, is bad for our society, it's bad for the individuals. And this should alarm people that as we continue down this road, these figures only appear as though they're likely going to be getting worse. As more and more men are checking out of dating, losing interest in marriage, data also shows that they are less likely to pursue it at all. And this bodes very poorly for our society. I think we have to acknowledge that our principles in place for dating, for relationships, for sex, for intimacy, these changes that we've instituted in our society are not working well. And our only way is to undo many of the things that we have done and get back on a course that does work to support marriages, relationships, and family life.
Does that make sense for you as far as like why divorce is inherently more risky for men?
I just feel like you're saying because women tend to be the person who initiates a divorce, correct?
Yes.
That's why it's riskier for men. But why do women tend to end divorces? With successful men that have money, they cheat.
She said it earlier.
They do all these things that women don't want to
She
put
said
up
it earlier.
with.
It's
So
a feeling.
why?
Feelings
Yeah.
change from day to day.
Yeah,
time
so
to
I
time.
could have been in love with the person at the moment, but if that person is no longer treating me well just because we're married, I have to say no.
That's the
because he
point.
can't be a good husband.
So as a man,
That's all I'm asking.
if I marry you and
Yeah.
you decide, you know what, he's not the guy I thought he was anymore, I'm leaving. You take half my stuff, and maybe.
So is there no risk
So?
without reward?
Oh, so what?
You married me, right?
No. So once again, this is why
You
men
wanted to marry me.
don't want to
You
get married.
thought you loved me enough that it would be worth it to you to marry me and
so
take
real
the
quick,
risk.
hold on, stop the show. You just basically admitted it with your own words why guys don't get married.
I'm not going to thank my husband for putting a new trash bag into the trash can. I'm not going to thank him for putting his clothes in the hamper. I'm not going to thank him for unloading the dishwasher. I'm not going to thank him for changing a diaper. I'm not going to thank him for cleaning a toilet. I'm not going to thank him for making the bed. I'm not going to thank him for doing any of the things that just come with living in a house. Like, if he would have to do it, if I didn't live here, like if he lived by himself and that was still a required task, I'm not saying thank you. That is just part of existing in a functioning home.
I'm not sure where this line of thought came from, that if we say thank you or show any type of gratitude, that we are enabling lazy men and that we will end up receiving less. Ladies, that is not how men work. And could you imagine if a man took the same line of thought and he decided he would no longer praise you for caring for your children, for making dinner, or for doing housework? Men are results driven, which is why gratitude, even for the small things, goes a long way.
Remember the wake-up call of our 20s? Many women were busy going after older, established men, entirely uninterested in the guys their own age who were still working hard and developing professions, while men were out there hustling and preparing themselves for the future. When we reach our 30s, these same ladies who were previously uninterested in us, now that we were living together, are frequently used up with emotional baggage that no one wants to handle. What man in his right mind would want to take on the chaos of a ready-made family at this point, with stepchildren who are unlikely to welcome him and an ex looming in the background? Nobody sensible, that is. A man who has worked hard and created something worthwhile desires a partner rather than a liability. The thought of taking on the role of breadwinner for someone else's children while managing the turmoil of a lady still embroiled in her past. Firm rejection. It should come as no surprise that statistics indicate that women are marrying at an average age of 30, given their desire for financial independence and their reliance on fertility-extending treatments such as egg freezing. However, as they are preoccupied with having it all, the dating scene is becoming increasingly strange. Tinder's 2023 Future of Dating report claims that Gen Z, or those between the ages of 18 and 25, believe they are reinventing dating in a way that has never been seen before. Surprisingly, 69% of these digital natives think they are establishing the benchmark for dating in the future, and over half of millennials concur that dating is healthier for today's young adults than it has ever been. Faye Ayosote-Luno, COO of Tinder, is ecstatic about this development, asserting that Gen Z is not only taking over Tinder, but also changing everything from culture to the workplace. To be honest, though, are they truly altering the rules, or are they only lowering the bar? Despite the fact that dating apps like Tinder are very popular, an increasing number of people are criticizing these services for being nothing more than overhyped hookup apps. Instead of focusing on making a long-lasting, meaningful relationship, they prioritize making a fast swipe to satiate petty cravings. Who do we think we are kidding?
I just think marriage is an L. In today's day and age, I mean, there's obviously the tradition component if you're religious, but you know, when it comes to the government involvement and the potential financial ramifications of having to unwind a marriage, it does not make sense. So don't get married, guys. Don't do it. You do, but you could have a life partner, for example, but you just don't need the government involved
Exactly
in that.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
And fully wants the whole white picket fence. We are husband and wife, but I just don't feel the need to go and sign some paper that lets them know that we are.
Yep.
This concludes our A4 anonymous coverage for the day. Click that like button, please. Make sure you hit that notification bell in addition to subscribing. Leave a comment telling us what you think. Have a great day tomorrow.